this is excellent. We have a very special guest, and the special guest is very precious too, not only for everybody, but also for her parents, because one of her, in an interview, I heard where, she talks about her father in detail and also her book. And at the ranch, at the wedding, he was saying that, Lisa is precious, but there is one more name added to it now, and that is Jason. So, for those who may not know, Lisa reflects, and symbolizes multiculturalism, with her father being a Bengali and mom being a Polish, but fir bhi dil hai Hindustani. Yes. So, let's cheer up for Lisa. And as she mentioned that there is a deeper connection to Chandigarh, it was fun reading the pages of the book inside about Chandigarh, your powerful connection with Chandigarh. I'll leave it to you now, Lisa. Welcome. Let's start the conversation, please.
Yes, please, let's start. So I just wanted to clarify why also Chandigarh is very close to my heart. In approximately 2003, I was invited to be a part of a film that became eventually nominated for an Oscar. It's called Water. And I don't know if you've seen it, but if you haven't, then that's the film that I would recommend seeing.
Beautiful movie, yeah, Deepa Mehta.
It's directed by Deepa Mehta, and Deepa Mehta, her childhood friend, is this incredible theater personality. You may have heard of her, Neelam Mansingh. And she lives here in Chandigarh. So as part of my training to transform myself from being an urban woman into a simple village girl, I had to change my body language. I had to work really hard. And I ended up living with Neelam for 4 months in Chandigarh and training with her theater group. Yeah. And it's a really, really, really precious time for me. And so that's why I know Chandigarh not just as like a passer-through. I was like living in Chandigarh and really, feeling the earth and feeling everybody's love and pulse and vibe.
And there is a reason. Now, you know what? We have a small, I would say, little grudge. You were in Mahakumbh, right? You should have come back to Chandigarh, not gone back to Dubai, and been here, spend more time in the city you love. Maybe next time, sure, you have to be here for a longer time.
Next time you invite me, I'll come for a week. How's that? And you all tell me where to eat, where to go, what to do. I'm very open. But yes, I've just come back from the Mahakumbh, and I just met a gentleman who apparently cut his darshan short to come here because I was speaking. So I'm very flattered. But it was a beautiful experience. And it reminds me, I don't want to say that I'm an overly religious person. I'm very spiritual. But it reminds you that the heart of India is connected to the divine in whatever way you want to practice it. So it was an incredible privilege to be there. I was very surprised. I was never attracted to go before. And then this just happened. Everything fell into place.
That's beautiful. And we were bothering for your video clip and bite in the meditation, zone. You had to come and give us a wonderful clip and message for our students. Thank you for that. Thank you for taking all the pains. Now let's have this conversation in 2 parts. Let's talk life before cancer and life after cancer. So, 16, you are in Mumbai, starting your career as a model and then actor. Can you just share a little more before we move on to the conversation?
So first, I have to set the stage, as an actor. You have to set the stage. So imagine a world before iPhones, before social media. It was a non-digital world. It was an analog world. And Mumbai was not Mumbai, it was Bombay. And it still had the same spirit, but again, it was a very different life and lifestyle. And I'm going to try to condense this because I've written about it in depth in my book. But I basically came to Bombay on vacation with my parents. Now, I have to clarify one thing. I am an introvert. I am. I really am. I'm an introvert. I like quiet, solitude. And even though life has pushed me in a different direction and I can appear to be an extrovert, I can put on those qualities, I need quiet time. So basically, when I was young, I was trying to figure out what is the best possible profession where I would have the least possible human contact. So, of course, destiny turned me into an actor, which is the opposite. But there I was in Bombay. I was 16 years old. I was very shy. The idea of being in front of a camera had never occurred to me because in the early 90s, modeling, acting, it was not the same profession that it's considered to be today, right? It was not even considered a legitimate profession, especially not for a girl from a good family, etc., etc. So there I was at the Holiday Inn in Juhu, sitting at the pool, and somebody spotted me. I didn't know that it was where all the Bollywood film actors hung out. Somebody spotted me. They said, they spoke to my parents. They said, hey, has she ever thought about modeling? I mean, it was almost blasphemy. Modeling? Me? No, never. But at the same time, I think one of my greatest talents and one thing that I advise everybody never to lose from your youth, hang on to your curiosity, your wonder, your beginner's mind. So even though I'd never thought about modeling, I was just curious. I thought it could be an interesting experience. I'll go back to Canada after this and forget about it. So I finally said, yes, okay, let's check this modeling thing out. And suddenly, I found myself in a photographer's studio, and I was transformed from the shy, timid, introverted young girl. I suddenly stepped into a different version of myself. And I know I'm speaking especially to all the students here right now. Life can be very confusing. It was very confusing for me. Who am I? What do I want to do with my life? What's important? What's not important? So I could disappear into this different world. You know, I put on the makeup, people fussed over me, put me into these clothes, and I looked 10 years older. And when I was in front of the camera, all my problems disappeared. So that was my very first taste of modeling. But even then I thought, Tika, we've done it. I'll tell my grandchildren one day, but I was going to go back to Canada and go to university because I was a good Bengali girl. Then fate intervened. So can you believe it? A week before I was supposed to begin university, my family and I were involved in a serious car accident. And as a result of that, my mom was paralyzed. And my entire beautiful little family life was shattered. It was destroyed overnight. And that was another very big lesson, the lesson of change. Things can change like that. And it was a valuable lesson, of course. It's still, you know, even today, so many decades later, it's painful. And the pain doesn't go away. But the lessons remain. And that was my first example of touching resilience. What does it mean to be resilient? In the meantime, Maureen Wadia, who was one of the owners of Bombay Dyeing and Glad Rags, which is a company I'd initially modeled for, heard about this. They had released my face on the cover of a magazine called Glad Rags, which doesn't really exist anymore, but before you had Vogue, Elle, Grazia, all of these magazines.
I think you've been on cover of almost every top magazine. Yeah.
There was Glad Rags, and there I was
girl.
on the cover, and I became an overnight sensation. But let me pose this one question to you. How would you know before the digital world, before iPhones, how would you know that you're famous on the other side of the world? I didn't know. I had no clue what was going on, that there was another version of me that had suddenly become famous and was desirable, and people were hankering for me, because in my reality, I was living in the ICU with my mother and just barely getting through every day. So that dichotomy, that almost split, was another very important lesson. You know what it taught me? It taught me that you can't judge success by the external circumstances. Because very soon after that, Maureen flew to Canada, convinced my parents to send me back to Bombay, and that's how my career started. When I say I am an accidental actress, it's not a cute thing to say. It is literally what happened to me. And so at the age of 16, 17, I found myself in the big bad world of Bombay, all alone, navigating it, while I was still dealing with this emotional trauma. And so, as I said, I often say that what life prepared me and taught me in a strange way, because I like to find meaning in everything. You could even call me foolish, but I realized that this is one of the biggest tools of resilience. Even during the darkest periods of my life, even during intense trauma, if I can stop for a moment and reframe this experience and say, what is this teaching me? Maybe I don't understand right now, but this is a lesson that I have to learn. That is really what's gotten me through a lot of very, very dark times. But also, what is very important, and again, I'm really specifically speaking to you guys, to the students here. So you know how we're taught by society that what is the definition of success, right? Money, fame, reputation, opportunities, the whole world running after you, right? That's what we're taught to aspire to.
Thought, yeah.
That's the conventional idea of success. Now, what happened with me is I received that success overnight at the age of 16, but inside, I had a deep, dark hole. And I was going through so much grief and trauma that I realized that success is not going to fill those dark holes. That the conventional idea of success is actually not going to make me happy. And it was such an important lesson that I've tried to carry forward in my life in terms of the choices then that you make and what do you want to leave behind, what's important, what's not important. And it's funny, you know, because every time I start forgetting this, life has a way of reminding me, like banging me over the head. Remember, this is what's important in life. Focus on what's important. Let everything else just fall away.
Brilliant. Let's take a round chair applause for Lisa on this. By the way, I have been getting a lot of calls over the last 1 week that, sir, Lisa Ray is coming, please reserve a seat for us. Can the audience be true to say that who all are fans of Lisa Ray here? Very honestly. See, these are the fans. And very honestly, another question, no barriers to age, guys. How many of you had a crush on Lisa Ray? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my God.
It's okay. This is a safe space.
Is that okay?
This is a safe space. This is so okay.
Yeah,
I actually, honestly, now we can laugh about it because often I'll meet somebody, a gentleman, I'm sorry to say, a gentleman of a certain age category who will come to me and say, oh, you know, I was a fan. It's very flattering. Listen, I'm 52. I'll take it. So I say, oh, that's lovely. But tell me honestly, did you have my picture on your bedroom wall? And so many go red and kind of like, yeah, I did.
That's awesome.
So this is for the kids, okay? I used to be hot, okay? I was like the hot thing in India for a while.
No, I'm
and
sure.
I loved it, and I'm very happy to also move on. But, you know, this is also a lovely lesson. You know, things change. Things change all the time. Sure, am I still hot? Yeah, I'm hot for 52. I'll take it. But it's time.
You are terrific. You're a great personality. I had an
No,
opportunity.
I'm half joking and half not because, but let me tell you something else. When I was young, I used to be very uncomfortable. Let me say this, because when you're a young woman and you haven't found your voice, and look, I'm not just hot, I'm smart, I'm talented. I have a lot of other things that I can do in the world and that I want to contribute to the world. So when I was young, in the early 90s, and you're only being called, oh, you're pretty, or you're hot, or you're this, or you're that, as a young woman, it felt like a cage. And I'm so happy that today, globally, but also in India, we're moving beyond these definitions, right?
We
Who's
are.
gonna, like, women, young girls, you're the future.
All cheer for women.
You're the future.
Awesome.
And remember, you can own it. You can own both things. You own your talent, you own your smartness. You're not just pretty and hot. It's fine. You know, that doesn't have to be your definition anymore, and I'm so happy to see that.
And that's the beautiful book. Lovely title. You know, Lisa Ray, Close to the Bone, and there is a wonderful note by Indian Express. So all cheers for this amazing book, Close to the Bone. We're coming up very soon. Questions around what happened after cancer, but it was a pleasure meeting Lisa a year back at Museum of Future Dubai, and as a co-speaker. I always wanted to meet her. It was an honor to see you as the supermodel and the topmost cover girl of the 90s, one of the most respected yet introvert. So that always goes there. Lisa, anything would you like to share before we move on about the industry in Mumbai? Was it tough or was it by chance? I know you had a great start at 16, but Kasur happened, then water happened. What else? Anything special you missed out? Was there a FOMO? I also, in one of your interviews, heard you say, I don't believe in FOMO, I believe in JOMO, the joy of missing out. Yeah.
So again, I've had a very, I would say, unusual career. And I started taking choices when I was quite young that were not conventional.
Absolutely.
Now, I mean, I don't believe in necessarily, I have to say, who approached me when, you know, in the 90s, all, you might say, the most important directors and producers of that time, because that's simply how it works. Whoever is young and new and fresh, you get the fresh opportunities. So I also had a lot of opportunities to join mainstream Bollywood. And I would sit with it and I would honestly feel, this is not for me. I have a different path. And I'm glad I did, because there's a part of me that I feel would have been extinguished. Sometimes I joke about it, and I'm being very, very genuine and honest. I am like as mupat as they come, you know. It just wasn't for me. I wanted to do unusual cinema, and that's why I said yes to Kasur.
Water.
I did a couple of South Indian films for the kicks as well. Please don't look them up. You don't want to see my dance steps. But I was still, as I said, trying to find my voice. I believe that my inner world and my personal development was as important as my professional development. That, for me, is very important. And, you know, something that we don't talk about when we talk about, like, what do you want to do with your life? Here's what you have to do to train. One of the most important things, if I had to go back in time and tell that version of myself, here is what you need to work on right now, I would say, work on yourself, work on your inner life, understand yourself and your mind. Because here's the thing, in terms of achieving your dreams and accomplishing anything, actually, though there will always be obstacles, the biggest obstacle you will ever encounter is yourself. It's the limits you put on yourself. And where do those limits come from? It comes from your mind. And I have done a lot of work now in the last few decades of my life in terms of meditation and understanding my mind, my old traumas, and something as simple as being able to separate out your ego mind from your higher self. I'll give you an example, right? The ego mind, which is a mind that's like constantly chattering and telling you what to do and criticizing, and sometimes it's your own mind, sometimes it's people around you, their opinions. That chatter limits you, right? Because what else is fear? Fear is held in the mind. So how do you rise above that? So a very simple technique that I have learned through one of my masters is separate it out. Because there's another center you can trust. It's your gut. It's your intuition. You can give it any sort of name that you want. I call it my higher self. The higher self will always be encouraging. And when I listen to my intuition, everything goes smooth. Everything works out. I find when I overly lean on my ego mind, things blow up in my face because it was not meant to be mine. So what I do is I give them names so that I can identify who's in the driver's seat right now, who is speaking. So my ego mind, I call the hammer, because it's that voice that goes dar, 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 just keeps hammering away at me with criticism. So sometimes I invite everyone, close your eyes for a moment. And if you had to give your ego mind, and this is no judgment, we need the ego mind, but the ego mind can't always be in charge. If you had to give your ego mind a name, what would it be? What is that voice that's always chattering and analyzing and criticizing? What do you think? Does anyone want to share?
Anybody?
What would your
please.
ego mind?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Lisa. It's been so wonderful listening to you, an honor and a privilege. So I think the question you asked, and I think it's interesting because being a psychologist, I ask similar questions every single day in my sessions. But I think the first word that struck me was oppression.
Oppression. Very nice.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
nice.
you. Thanks.
And the reason why this is useful, and please take it home, experiment with it. Because once you give something a name and a label, it loses its power over you. So when sometimes you can say, oppression, I see you, you are criticizing me, you're filling me with fear, go sit in the corner, have some tea. And then you invite in the other version of yourself, which is free, which is without fear, which will guide you, which will actually become your best friend in life. So that's just a little example of a technique that I wish I had learned. I was so full of insecurity. I was so full of fear. So you might look at that version of me, that young woman in the 90s. She's got it all. She's celebrated by India. She has all the opportunities. She's pretty. She's got money. But you know what? Inside, the voice, the hammer, was going, you're not good enough. You are not valued. Your voice is not heard. You're not good enough. Sit down. Be quiet. Don't speak. That's what was going on. So I imagine often how my life would have been transformed if I had understood myself a little deeper when I was young. So again, I encourage everybody to be able to access and understand yourself first, and then understand your path. Do it simultaneously with finding your profession. And I hope that something like that might be very helpful.
That's beautiful, because self-introspection, and there is something definitely moves around within us. All we need to do what you did, segregate and identify. That's beautiful. That's a great lesson. I think we can give a round cheer, a deeper meaning to what Lisa has mentioned. Let's move on to cut 2.
Yes.
Okay. We go on to the challenging part of life. Life is full of surprises, knocks you down, but all you can do is get it up with that kind of determination. What was your response to being diagnosed with multiple myeloma? How was that fear? What was that moment, and when was it?
So it was 2009, and ironically, I had just lost my mother, and I had been feeling bad for a while. You know, when you just know inside your body things are not right. There weren't a lot of specific symptoms. Fatigue was one, but I would keep making excuses for the fatigue. Yeah, of course, I'm flying all over the world, and let me cut out rice out of my diet, let me have more coffee, whatever it was. But I was in denial. Why? Because I was so used to not listening to my body. And this is another very, very big lesson that I hope, if anything, I can leave you with. Please develop a relationship with your body. Our body communicates all the time as well. But we're too busy, or we don't want to listen. And your body will start gently knocking. Hello, I have something to tell you. Slow down, take care of your stress. No response. Then it starts going louder. You ignore it. Louder. Then it has to break down the door, which is literally what my diagnosis of cancer was. It's because I wasn't listening. Now, cancer is one of the biggest fears in life. I think everyone would agree here. It still has such a big fear factor for everyone. One of the reasons, of course, is because of the misunderstanding of what it is. Cancer is not one disease, it's many diseases. There's many different prognoses, and it doesn't mean a death sentence. But the irony is that multiple myeloma, which is a blood cancer that I was diagnosed with, is actually a death sentence. And I still remember when I was finally diagnosed, I was sitting in this small little white room.
I was about to ask, where were you? Yeah.
I was in Toronto at that time because my mom had just passed away. That's why I was there. And I feel like her hand was on my back, and she sent me to get tested. And finally, I was sitting in a small little white room opposite a hematologist. I didn't even know what a hematologist did. And your gut is churning, that feeling in your stomach. You just know something is wrong. So he sat opposite me and he locked eyes with me and he said, "You have multiple myeloma." Very dramatic. And I kind of stared back at him and I said, "Yes, and?" Because I didn't know what it was. I had no clue. I've never heard of it. And he continued. And here's what's interesting. There was one part of me just left the room. I just went into denial. But I also think that because of my years of, again, practices like yoga and meditation, there was a part of me that while it detached, it was speaking to me. It was saying, "Oh, this is not good, this is bad, but you're going to be okay. You're going to survive."
That's great. I think we can cheer for that, because there was that infinite will and conviction, because it was insecurity coming off and on, and you were fighting.
Of course,
there
yes.
was some strength. There was strength already.
There was a strength that came up. There was a small, quiet voice that I trained myself to listen to that said, "You're going to be okay." Yeah. And, it's interesting. Before this, I was reflecting on what is resilience. Yeah. Because everyone is always saying, "But this is resilience. How did you get through this?" Because then my journey started, and was it easy? No, it was not easy. But one of the things also that that was my steady companion was my questioning mind. I kept questioning. And one of the big questions I came up against was, why should I not go public with my disease? Kyunki before me, no Indian personality or well-known personality had ever announced their diagnosis of cancer publicly. It was always chupke, keep it quiet, And many people around me advised me, don't tell anyone. Whatever you do, don't go public. And I couldn't help but feel, why? What have I done wrong? Because the idea of secrecy is often tied up with shame. And why should I feel ashamed of going through cancer, which is affecting so many other people? Did I do something wrong? And I started asking these questions in the middle of my treatment while I was going through treatment. And treatment for multiple myeloma is a little bit different because I was on very heavy steroids. And steroids, for anyone who has ever been on them, you gain a lot of weight. So I was steadily putting on 10 kilos a week But it was saving my life, so all vanity went out, you know, the window. And then at some point, I knew I was going to lose my hair, and I decided to shave my head. But this idea of going public, I had to confront, because in the middle of my treatment, I was invited to walk on the red carpet of the Toronto International Film Festival, because one of my films was releasing. And normally it's something that is really, you should be celebrating that. But oops, I have cancer. Now what do I do? Do I hide? Because I hadn't said anything to anyone. Everyone said, listen, just put your head down, get well, then, you know, then you can speak to the world if you want to. I said, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to hide. I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of hiding my true self and my light. And you know what? I realized this is a great opportunity to stand on the red carpet, where normally, by the way, women are critiqued, criticized, run down. Oh, her shoes don't match her bag, and she's put on 5 pounds, and all of this nonsense goes on, right? We all do it. It's okay, no judgment. And I always felt very uncomfortable on the red carpet for these reasons. I didn't want to be seen. Now I said, you know what? I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm going to stand on the red carpet, debut my new body, 40 pounds over my normal weight, and I'm going to finally talk about something that is meaningful for me. Because also with cancer, as you must know, particular cancer, something like breast cancer, has gotten so much attention over the years that it's actually changed patient outcomes, that their survival rate has improved because of the attention that it's gotten, and then the research dollars. My particular cancer, very few people had ever heard of it. They couldn't even pronounce it. I said, I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm going to stand there, and I'm going to say, I'm diagnosed with multiple myeloma, and this is my story. And I did that. And
Brilliant,
it was
brilliant,
very,
powerful.
very difficult.
That's powerful, that's brilliant. You know,
So, you know, what we were talking about is this resilience and vulnerability.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, was it vulnerable? Yes. I felt fearful? Yes. But I did it anyways because it was important. I realized if you focus on the goal and the mission rather than the fear, don't give it bow, then you will continue in spite. The fear won't go away. The fear is always with you. The hesitation, that chattering mind is still criticizing you, but you will continue forward. And, you know, another thing that I realized through that is the power of vulnerability. We tend to think that vulnerability is a weakness, right? Showing people really what you're feeling inside. Showing people your flaws, your cracks. An interesting thing is that because of this, I cracked wide open, and I had nothing to fear because everything was out there, and I was so proud to share. And you know what happened? So many people approached me. I got so much support from India, so many blessings, so much of just strangers reaching out and saying, I'm with you, and I've been through cancer, or I'm praying for you. And I believe that that's one of the reasons why I'm sitting here today, is all those blessings.
सब दुआएं काम आ गई परमात्मा की लोगों की दुआएं
Sorry?
दुआएं the blessings of people.
Yes,
yeah, we are glad
absolutely.
to see you.
By being vulnerable, by sharing my story, by saying I'm not going to be held back by fear or other people's opinions also. So that was a huge, like I often say, there was the before cancer life and then there's the after cancer life. And that set me on the current path that I'm on today, which is sharing my story, not just that, but being able to talk, you know, through an embodied experience about what it's like to come through something like that. And that, listen, I'm not special. I promise you I'm not special. Anyone can do it. And we need to share our stories and empower each other.
And that's so beautifully written in the book, where she advocates about her journey, about her struggle with cancer and how to overcome with it through conviction, determination, resilience.
Oh, sorry, I wanted to add one more thing.
Please.
So in that, right, we all tend to wear this mask. We're all wearing this public mask, like I should not crack, I should appear to be perfect and all of this. And in vulnerability, again, I found that strength, and I found a beautiful metaphor for this, within the Japanese tradition of art,
Yeah.
right? So they have a tradition called Kintu Kusuroi. Has anyone heard of this? It's beautiful. So please Google this right after, go Kintu Kusuroi. So the Japanese believe that when, say, a pot or a vase breaks, right? Normally what we do is either we throw it out, we discard it, it's broken, it's flawed, or we try to repair it in a way where you can't see that it's ever been broken. But you know what the Japanese do? They repair it with gold along the seams so you can see the scars of where the pot has broken. And it makes the object more beautiful for having been broken. And I feel as a metaphor for life, that is so important to share that message. And true story, I wanted to actually call or use the title of my book, More Beautiful for Having Been Broken. Because I truly believe in that, and I believe that I am more beautiful for having been broken.
Most beautiful. The grace came through the cracks. Amazing. One question comes to my mind, and how did you cope up with body image issues? The world has seen you as the Lisa Ray, the most beautiful, the most glamorous Lisa Ray, but the mirror told you a different story.
Well, no, that's a very good question. Absolutely. Again, there's so much pressure on women, right? Sorry, men, you have your own pressures. I absolutely acknowledge that. But I'm talking about women. This is something we need to talk about. You have to look good. You know, you're working, you're taking care of your family. You have to be like this super heroine every single day, 24/7. And this is before I was a mother and I had my children. But the pressure to look good, that was a heavy backpack that I'd been carrying for a while. And cancer actually broke that for me. Because as I saw my physical appearance change and evolve, you know, whether it was with putting on 40 pounds, losing my hair, I started trying to celebrate that. And the other thing is, important lesson, I am certainly not the first person to say this, is that change is our constant. Yeah. Everything will change. So you have to make your peace with change. And now, what I find I find a lot of meaning now in embracing this age. So I'm finding it really fun to experiment with talking about being in my 50s, you know, thriving at 52, and letting, you know, the crack show, embracing my new body. Look, was it easy in the beginning? No, because we have that inner chatter, right? We have that inner critic. But that is why I was emphasizing from the beginning is making friends with your mind and saying, shut up, choop, go sit in the corner. I don't want to hear you today. So that you can separate out the criticism and you can actually really start loving yourself. And we have to start giving ourselves love as women because we're so used to all the love leaving us and going out externally into our families, our husbands, our friends, our community. You've got to turn it around and love yourself. And from that place, you can love every version of yourself. So it was an important thing, and it was an important lesson in change, which is really, I mean, if you had to go through anything, I think if you had to boil down any one lesson that one should really sit with in life, it's change. Make your peace with change in whatever way it is. And for me, it's been through meditation and reading, and I do a lot of spiritual practices around that. Now, don't get me wrong. Do I work out? Yes. Do I do a tiny bit of Botox? Yes. I own it. Do I color my hair? Yes, I do that. But because I want to present the best version of myself, what I feel at 52. But do I allow this to sag? Yes. Do I allow my wrinkles to show? Yes. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of this body, and I'm thankful to this body.
Superb.
I'm really thankful.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You know, you have kicked out negativity and cancer like Beckham kicks football. Awesome. Superb. Coming back to literature, do you think literature can serve as a tool for healing, not just for the writer, but for the reader as well?
The short answer is a big yes. Huh. I believe in the power of art to heal. And, you know, in case I haven't said it before, I am a lifelong reader. The reason why I wrote this book, and let me also say I wrote every single word. No ghostwriter, nothing. You know what the biggest compliment was when I was doing my book tour? Because I'm very proud of the book. If I do say so myself, it's well written, and I invite you to read it and give me feedback. All honest feedback is welcome. The biggest compliment I got, and this should tell you something also about the labels and the images that the perceptions that we cage each other with. Someone took my husband aside because he was with me on the book tour. He normally never travels with me on work, but he was very proud. And they said, you know, it's a very good book. He said, oh, yes, thank you, I know. Did she really write it? Like, tell me, you can tell me, who wrote it? So the implication being that this version of Lisa Ray, how could she possibly write a book, right? They were responding to a different version of me. We are always fighting stereotypes in the world. It's easy to stereotype. Again, no judgment. I don't blame someone. But that should never stop you from following your dream. So yes, but I only ever wanted to become a writer. That is what I wanted to do when I was a young girl. I'm a Bengali as well. I was surrounded with books. I still read fervently, passionately, everything that comes my way. And my dream was to write because I believe in the power of healing. Now, look, words, I truly believe, are infused with intent. Sometimes when you're going through something, like when I was going through cancer, all I wanted to do was to find somebody who understood what I was going through. And even your most beloved friends, your family, the people who love you the most, if they're not going through it, they're not going to understand. They can't understand. So that's when stories come in. You know, you find a story of someone who's walked that road. It's so deeply inspiring. And for me, stories is always transportive. You know, you travel the world. You live another life. The one thing that I enjoyed about becoming an actor, finally, despite being an introvert, was the ability to live so many different lives, to step into other people's shoes, to, you know, and I really loved the process. And in writing, you can experience that. In reading as well, you can experience that. So I 100% believe in the healing power of literature.
Perfect. Thank you, Lisa. Your dad is 92. Just cheer up.
That's why we're here, right? Yes. We believe in books.
We believe in books.
Literature will never die out. I don't care what Apple says. I don't care what Elon Musk says. But listen, it's up to us to keep it alive also. It is up to us, and it's up to you guys. There, I'm looking at all of you, fresh-faced students, all of you. Guys, it's up to you guys to keep it alive.
Absolutely. I just wanted to ask you that what was the role of your father? He's 92 now, and you call him Baba?
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Beautifully written in the book. What was his role in these tough times? Maybe some very quick one.
My Baba is, I call him sometimes Saint Baba. I call him, you know, he is this beautiful old Babu Moshai Bengali gentleman. He's been through a lot in his life also, having seen his wife, the love of his life, lose her ability to walk, being confined to a wheelchair. Also, their love story, my mother and father was very rebellious. You know, I often think, oh, I'm such a rebel. But I look at my parents in the 60s. They eloped. My Bengali father, who was studying for his PhD in chemistry, as you did, had already a chosen match sitting in Kolkata waiting for him. And he went, very quick story, he went to Warsaw on a student exchange. He was singing Rabindranath Sangeet. And I said, Baba, tell me the truth. You wanted to meet blonde women. Stop. It was not a cultural exchange. So he did. He met my mother. And imagine in those days, they wrote letters to each other for 2 years. And then he had to invite her to come to England, and they got married. And it was such a beautiful, but in both the story, it was like a proper drama, man, So my father's been through a lot. And he has found some kind of inner peace. Everyone who spends time with Baba says he's just a remarkable man. And, I mentioned my mom had just passed away. And imagine, like literally 8 months later, I'm diagnosed with cancer. What the man must have gone through. And he was my rock. When I had a stem cell transplant, he slept in the room on a bed. He was there for me. So my Baba
Beautiful.
is everything.
Beautiful. Well, we are coming to the end of our conversation, which we don't want to. It's such a beautiful story, easier said than summed up in 50 minutes. But we have 1 or 2 questions, then we open the questions for the audience. Many women struggle with the idea of being enough, beautiful enough, successful enough, strong enough. If you could rewrite this narrative for the next generation, what would you want them to believe instead?
I think it's very simple. I would love every young woman here to go home and write on your mirror, on the glass, I am enough. And under that, I am more than enough. That's it.
Brilliant.
Because you are. You really are. And there's a conditioning, in every society. I'm not going to single out our society. In every society, there's a conditioning. There's generational ideas. There's societal ideas. It doesn't matter. You do this little meditation, fun meditation, every morning. Look at yourself in the mirror, into your eyes, and say, I am enough, because you are.
What type of storytelling should students in today's generation do to keep it up in the game and keep it genuine, keep it beautiful and impactful?
So storytelling.
Just see if it works.
Yeah. Is it working?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Storytelling is a passion. There's so many different forms of storytelling, as you know, through film, through books, through social media can be a storyteller, but you have to use it with caution, honestly, because we know that there's a lot of pitfalls. Not me saying this, the science is saying it. So storytelling to be impactful, I believe it has to be authentic. It has to be fearless. It has to, first of all, you have to figure out, what do I want to say? Do I have something to say? And align all of your storytelling to your values, to your mission. It has to come from such a genuine place in your heart, and that's what will always set you aside from the crowd. You know why? Because there's nobody like you. If you try to become somebody else, if you try to copy the crowd, if you try to follow a trend, theek hai, maybe for a little while, you'll find some validation, some success, but it's not going to last. And just remember, what you can share with the world, your genuine self, that's the most valuable thing you have in this world. So put that at the center of your storytelling. Always be authentic, be fearless, be vulnerable, but know yourself as well. And even if you don't know all the answers, that's okay. Make your storytelling a question. And maybe through that, someone will find an answer.
Absolutely brilliant. While you were going through the previous questions and answers, I was thinking, what was going in my mind was that God loves you, and He loves us also, because while you were getting cured, somebody in His realm was preparing Chitkara Literature Festival. So you had to be here today. It's such an honor that you have with us.
We are all one.
So beautiful. Just last question. What was the most difficult expectation you had to unlearn?
Unlearn, yes. I think being hard on myself, like redefining success sounds easy, but it's hard. Because there is always that pressure. What next? What next? I still get it. I'm 52, yaar. I've been working so long, and still people come and say, what next? What next? as an example. So, moving away from external validation and redefining success for myself. Like for me, success is also being a great mother today and being able to balance that out with my work, with really being as genuine as I can. I had to just unlearn my own inner critic. I was, again, my biggest enemy, to be honest. Were there enemies outside myself? Yeah, okay, sure. Are there people that betray you, that disappoint you? Yeah, sure. But you know what? At the end of the day, I'm not a victim. Nobody's a victim. You have the power. All the power is in you. Change your expectations, change your mind, and change your world. That's, if I can end that.
Change your world. Beautiful. That's great. Lisa is blessed with two lovely little girls and a very, very wonderful, supportive husband, Mr. Jason. Yeah, all cheers for them. Let's open the house for questions. Who are we having the first question from?
Sumeer sir, can I have the first question here?
Yeah? Where exactly are you?
Yeah, I'm here sir, up.
Okay.
Acha, aap kahan pe?
Okay, sir.
Up.
Yeah, Lisa ma'am, this side.
Hi.
Yeah, this side.
Just be careful, don't jump.
Yeah.
I know
So
she's
first-
pretty.
So lots of gratitude first of all. So I represent the happiness department here. So we have a question for you ma'am. So first of all, like you have inspired us a lot not to give up and just follow your heart and dreams. So but if some of us are not aware of that dream, if we don't know, if we don't have that fire in the morning to wake up and we don't know where we want to go, so what do you have to say? Like how we can identify what is our dream, where we have to go? So can you talk about that?
Wow, such a good question.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. I can see you all. Whoop, whoop, whoop. You're amazing. Listen, here's the thing. I also didn't really know for a long time. If you ask me today, like, what are you an expert in? What are you? I will say nothing. I am an expert in nothing. You know why? Because I decide to start every day with a beginner's mind. And here's the thing. Now, you do have to, just like you have to like sometimes go to the gym, you have to work on a muscle. You know what you have to work on? Your happiness muscle. You have to work on that muscle of directing yourself, okay? Not like, like from the outside, from the inside. And this is why if you get curious, what is today going to be like? Not putting the pressure on yourself, oh shit, I don't know, I don't know what I'm doing, I have to pass this class, but then after that I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Okay, you don't have to know. You don't have to know. Nobody should know at your age, but you should be curious. You should wake up with wonder. You should think, wow, what can I learn today? What new thing can I experience? You know, just like being still a young child. Treat each day with wonder and keep a journal if you can and know yourself. Not in an egotistical way. Not like, oh, I have to know myself, I'm the most important person. But start being curious about yourself. That's what I would say. And
Wonderful.
You know what? Some days you're going to feel like, oh, I can't get out of bed. And that's okay. That's normal at your age. Have a friend, have a buddy, motivate each other. Just say, what are you curious about today? Come on, let's do something completely new. Let's experience something completely new. That's all I can think of
That's
right
awesome.
now.
The curiosity that keeps you going. Okay, anybody else? Yes, please. Okay, the lady at the back, please, and then we go to the gentleman here. Yes, please. We can't hear you.
Sorry, I can't
Somebody's
hear.
getting you the mic right there.
We need to
please.
get a mic.
Yeah,
Because, Buddhi,
please.
because I read a lot, I tend to like not hang out with people and not really have a social life. So like, how can I balance that?
Oh, my John, you remind me of me. That's what I was. Tell me, does it bother you? Does it bother you? You want to meet more people?
Well, I want to be more comfortable around people.
Okay, okay.
That's a
How
good
old, can I
question.
ask how old you are?
I'm 12.
Oh,
Oh, let's cheer up for her, please.
you're amazing.
You're
First
amazing.
of all, I want to salute your courage and your vulnerability in standing here and asking this question, okay? That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So you are already probably so much stronger, so much like more interesting and vibrant than you believe. So I would say, listen, it's a beautiful thing to read. And sometimes you want time to just be with yourself. But I would encourage maybe a good start is to find some other people with the same interest first, other readers, and then from there you develop a community. You all, you become comfortable in that setting, talking about something you're passionate about. And then you can extend it out into other settings. But if there's something you really want to work on, first of all, don't think there's anything wrong. I want you to understand that some of the people who have accomplished the most in their life have been like you, readers. There's a lot of pressure on from society to, on our behavior, that somehow you have to be like this, that you have to socialize a certain amount. As I said, that's why I asked you, is it your desire? Yes, some basic social techniques should be there. But you're 12, Babu, you're going to get there. I want you to know you're going to get there. But start with a group of like-minded people. Find people who read. And then from there, you can develop your
Very
social
nice,
skills
yeah.
out.
Absolutely brilliant. We can
But
have,
there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Let me tell you something. I don't socialize much, so
we'll
there
have
you
one
go.
more question.
Thank
We'll have
you.
one more question. We have the arrival of our next guest, Kalki. Welcome, Kalki. Yeah.
If I could use a single word, and I can't get into it in detail, I would love to.
Yeah, we're just short of time now, but definitely off the event we'll.
But if I can
definitely
use a
yeah, you
single
can, yeah,
word,
please.
I would have to say surrender. Sometimes you have to surrender to circumstances, and it's not an easy thing, and it's a misunderstood concept and a misunderstood state of being, but it's actually can be a very empowered state of being if it's done with intention and trust and faith. And so a lot of my life has actually evolved from surrender. And I think that we
That's beautiful.
give ourselves too much bhav. We think that we're the masters of our fate. We're not. And it's important to partner, to co-partner with whatever you want to call it, God or the universe or anything like that. That's been my experience in terms of navigating really difficult times.
Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been a great audience. Lisa Ray, that's the story. Keep going, keep moving. That's what Lisa Ray is about, a wonderful, precious guest today at Chitkara University at the Literature Fest. Thank you so much. It was such an honor.